everybody. Welcome to another 80s golden age of comedy. And things just keep getting better and better because I have the greatest guy on the show today. His name is Bobby Collins. Welcome to the show, Bobby. So glad to have you.
Bruce, thanks for having me, man. It's nice to talk with fellow circus people when it comes to Jumanji. And that's what's happening in our world.
Exactly. I love that. I love that. So, we do come from a very similar time. Me as a personal appearance agent, part of that circus that you mentioned at the Improv for the most part, sometimes at the Comedy Store. I actually put together about 35 guys that I work with. Howie Mandel, you wouldn't know this. Howie was one of my guys, and Murray Langston was one of my guys, and Paul Reiser, and Bobby Slayton, and Larry Miller. A lot of great, great guys. Paula Poundstone. The list goes on and on. But I think for me, Bobby, that time in my life was one of the most exciting for me, and I think for a lot of other people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was growing up in Queens, New York, not from regular parents, Queens. And I loved every time we were poor kids. We lived in a project. And every time what made my mother and father happy, I would turn around. I'd be watching TV on the carpet, and I'd turn around and seeing them on the couch. And they'd either watch any stand-up comedians that came on Sunday night at 8 o'clock at the Ed Sullivan Show, or anybody. And they loved on Tuesday nights watching Red Skelton, Clint Cadiddlehopper. And I would turn around and I saw that made them laugh. And they always looked at me as if I was funny and this and that. And I said, I can do this, I can do this. And that was an impetus for me to go into comedy.
Now, I know Glenn Hirsch. I did a show with Glenn before, and he's also from Queens. Did you know Glenn?
No, I knew him later in life. I didn't know Glenn.
Okay. All right. So he's a great guy. And, his story is interesting where I think he went to Queens College and he started getting up in front of people there.
Wow. That's amazing.
How did you first get started doing this?
I went to the University of Buffalo.
Oh,
Fritz Coleman, Wolf Blitzer, and after I graduated, they asked me if I would teach. Somebody fell out, and I taught U.S. foreign policy, and they asked me if I would teach, and I said, "Oh, okay." And it didn't pay much, but I had 35 kids every class. That was one of the most impetus, captive audience I could imagine.
Wow.
And I had fun with them. And I did, you can get a lot through humor. Whatever side of the world you're on or whatever the way you think, you can change somebody's mind if you let them look at it and they laugh. You know that. So I started to teach. And then right after teaching for 1 year, I went back to New York and I got a job. I had to, get a job. I worked in Calvin Klein. And during at night, during the day, I would see all these buyers come in and they would, Macy's from Chicago, and there'd be 12 of them. And I'd sit down and show them the line. And then they'd go back to their hotel rooms and write up orders. And I'd look at them and I'd say to them, "Hey guys, what are you guys doing tonight?" And they go, "We're writing up our orders." New York scared them. They'd ordered the dinner in their rooms. And I said, "Well, I do some stand-up comedy at a place called Catch a Rising Star. Maybe you'd like to come over." They jammed in.
Wow.
They jammed in. And my orders were huge. And as a result of that, I was doing comedy every night and during the day working in the garmente. I was a garmento.
Oh, yeah. Listen, plenty of people did that to get through. That's for sure. And what an interesting, everybody had to get a job for the most part, because I always ask people, how did you afford to be a comedian? So let's go from, when did you first think to yourself, other than from your parents, I can do this? And how did it go from there?
I remember raising my hand when I was young and very young in school, and they asked, we had to write a composition of what do we want to do in life. And I raised my hand and asked the teacher how to spell comedian.
Ah, wow.
True story. And and after that, I just started going. I remember going to Catch a Rising Star on dates when I was young, 18, 20, 22. And I'd go there on dates and I'd see, I'd see David Brenner. I'd see, Chico, what's his name? I'd see all the guys that you'd started to see on television, and I'd say the girls and other guys jumping up, and I'd say the girl after three comics, she goes, "Let's go." I said, "No, no, here's money for a taxi. I got to stay. I'm going to watch this." And I remember going and staying, going to other clubs to see if I can get up because the Catch a Rising Star was the club then. And I remember going to Good Times down on. Do you remember Good Times?
I certainly heard of it.
Yeah, and I'd go in there, and one day, and I would do stand up. And then one day, Rick Newman was sitting with the owner. They called me over, and I said, "Yeah." And he goes, introduced himself, and he said, "Listen, I'd love for you to come up and work at my club, and could you MC?" And I said, "Sure. What's the name of your club?" I didn't know. He said, "Catch a Rising Star." I went, "That's the club."
Wow.
I said, "Sure, I would love to." He says, "All right, see you tomorrow night. Show up at this and such and that." And I went up, and boy, that was an experience.
Well, how did you get those first 5 minutes to be bold enough to even get up in front of the group?
One thing I learned young, Bruce, one thing I learned young was from watching the best was include who you are in what you're saying. So talk about how you feel about whatever topic it is. And people relate to that better rather than two Jews walk into a bar. They buy it up, rather than, I'm home during a pandemic. And remember those lingerie stores you'd walk by when you were a little boy and you saw the see-through bras and the garter belts and, you'd say, "Ooh, those little panties." I'm on a pandemic now, and my wife, the other night, she had the double flannel pajamas on, a knapsack, and goggles. Basically, I was going to bed with an Eskimo. See what I mean? You're including who you are into your comedy. And people will not only like it and laugh, they'll always come back and see you because they feel as if there's a relation because they felt the same thing.
Wow. So who were the first couple of guys that, you stepped in to catch?
Yeah.
Who was the first couple of guys that either you started working with or that sort of accepted you and maybe helped you along?
Well, I met Bill
Maher?
Bill Maher and Adrian Tulch were the MCs. And now here I come in and Rick made me an MC. So I got up there that first night and they had a piano player that brings you up. Remember the old piano players? And I would do 5-8 minutes and then bring on the first act. And I remember Bill Maher saying to me, "Hey, you just do a minute. Just do a minute and bring up I go, "Then why am I here? I'm here to practice. Otherwise, I just get, all right, next comic coming to the stage." So I knew all of Jerry's Seinfeld. We all knew each other. But I was never a hangout guy. I would go from there. And then if I had another set down at Good Times, or I'd have another set somewhere, I'd get on a train and go to Brooklyn and do a set or anywhere just to stand up because, the cream rises to the top. Shit floats for a while, then it sinks. I wanted to be the cream. And in order to do that, I had to practice.
And, no doubt you weren't getting paid for any of those gigs.
Oh, sometimes you'd get a meal and $15, remember?
I know one of the things that almost all the comedians talk about is the unfortunate strike that happened out in Hollywood in '79. So, all right, so let's talk about years. What year did you get up and start doing your emceeing?
Oh, I would say in the early 80s. I came late because, I had a job, I had to support myself, all that. And what was happening then, Chico and the Man, Freddie Prince, there it is,
Yeah.
Gabe Kaplan. They were all up there. All of us were just comics in between getting up. And I'd go down to the Improv. And Bud was so nice to me. And I got up and I did my thing, but, my attitude was to work, to keep working at. That's how I was. I wanted to go, this didn't go right. I got to sound this. I got to change this around. I went in another direction. Somebody hollered something out. But you know how we are.
Wow. So you didn't have a tape recorder. Were you one of the tape recorder guys at all
No.
ever?
No, I was a pencil and paper and still am. Notes. If you saw all the notes I have.
I remember the yellow pads. I don't know if you remember, but my roommate was Barry Martyr.
I remember Barry.
Oh yeah, we lived on North Kings Road for a few years, and we never walked down to the Improv, but it was certainly walkable to get to the Hollywood Improv. And he had those yellow pads. I mean, those yellow pads were everywhere.
How's Barry?
I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years. I'm not sure if you know, but he's gotten very friendly with Jerry, and he's worked very close with Jerry Seinfeld the last several years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't know what he had to do with the B movie, but I do know that the head B in the B movie, his name was Barry.
Right.
So all right. So how did you go? What's the next step? You were doing emceeing. You still had to come up with, you had to go from 2 or 3 or 4 minutes to 15 minutes to go to the middle job, do a middle. Tell me how that all happened. I mean, listen, you sound like, I want to stop right there. How would you describe yourself as a comedian?
I would say I'm very technical. I'm very, I like rhythm. I look into how the material is and what direction. I look at an audience. I could look at an audience, and I got a gift of knowing I could peek behind a theater curtain and go, "Ooh, they're not that bright, this audience." So that means I got to bring myself down a little, because if they are bright, it can add to what you're going to, and other things can build upon it. And I love that. But other times, so I've learned, I'm very technical. That's why people say to me, "Hey, Bobby, you're an A-list comic. Why would you work in that one theater on a Saturday night and Friday night you're in a comedy club in Shittsville?" I go, because that comedy club is making me work out things in order for me to work into theaters.
That's right. I mean, that's what the Improv was so perfect for, because as so many of the comedians would say, you go in there and the people expect a show, but they also perhaps expect a show that's a little more intimate and less formal.
I remember coming out to California for a sitcom, and me and Eddie Mecca Carmine from Laverne and Shirley, we got picked up for a sitcom, and we came out to California to shoot it. And I remember they were paying me $120,000 for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh my God. I was making $15 at the Catch Risings. And I remember coming out here, and then I'd go that first night, I went over to the Comedy Store. I parked, and the guy asked me who I am. I'm a comic from New York. I walked in, there was Mitzi Shore with these wedgies on. And I walked over, I go, "Excuse me, Mitzi?" She went, "Yeah, who are you?" She had I go, "My name's Bobby Collins. I'm from New York. And I heard that if there's any place to play while I'm out here doing a TV show, this was the place to come." "Oh, I heard of you. You work at Caroline's a lot." "Yes." And she said, "Okay, call up and sign up on Tuesday night, and maybe we'll take a." I go, "How about this? How about if you put me on soon, right? Like next. And if you don't like me, I'll never come past your door again." And she goes, "Oh, you want to play it like that?" I went, "Yes." And she told Paul Mooney, he was the MC. I didn't know. She said to Paul Mooney, "Bring this guy up next." And he got up, after he did a little something, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, a guy from New York, please welcome Bobby Cohen." And I got on the stage and I said, "My name's not Cohen, it's Bobby Collins." And I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, my ass is blacker than his will ever be." And they cracked up and applauded. You know how in the moment you play. And the next, after I came off the stage, he came over and he goes, "What was that bullshit about?" I go like this: "All we got in us is our names. Nothing yet. All we got is our names. So get my name right." And after Mitzi said, "Okay, you're in. You can sign up. You're good. We want." And I drove down 10 minutes, 5 minutes to the Improv. And I walked in and there was Bud. And he was doing, "Come on, get out of the aisles, out of the aisles." And I walked over to him and I said, "Bud, my name's Bobby Collins." "Yeah, I heard of you." And I go, "Listen, I'm out here doing a show. And I was told if I ever come out here, this was the place to come to." And he said, "All right, call up on Monday." And I said, "How about this? How about you bring me up? And I did the same thing." And he brought me up and I did well. You know who went on before me? Robin Williams.
Oh, Jesus.
And he teared the place up because he was just known from the sitcom. And then they went, "Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Collins." They were like, "Who's this guy?" But he had brought the audience so high, Bruce, that it fell right up.
I heard that before.
Yes.
I heard that some guys would think, "Oh, I can't follow that."
Right.
But some of the other guys said, "That's who I want to follow," because they're already feeling so good.
Oh, it was great. It slipped right. And Bud said, "All right, you're good. You're in. You're a regular now." So that was my California experience.
Wow. So that's how you got out to LA, was you had a gig.
I did a sitcom.
Wow.
I did a sitcom, and it never went, but I got paid. But I would still go back and forth to New York. New York's my home. I lived in Manhattan. I still do, 12th and Broadway. And I have a home here in Santa Monica, California. And you'll get a kick out of this. One day I was at Catch a Rising Star and in New York. I was in the city working, and an older man came over to me. And he said to me, after the show, he gave me his card and he said, have your agent give me a call. And I said, "You mean my parents?" And, he laughed. I laughed. And I called up Steve Levine. Remember Steve?
No.
ICM.
Oh, okay.
Now he's the president. And I gave him the card, because all the agents were looking at you. And I said, this guy he goes, "Do you know who this is?" I go, "An old man who is leaving the club." And he goes, "This is Cher and Sinatra's manager."
Ooh.
And I said, "Really?" And 3 days later, he called me up and I went on an 88 city tour with Cher. And you talk about a small audience. "Hi, where you from?" Hey, pal, look at that. Hey, nice cleavage." And now you're talking to 30,000 people in an outdoor arena. Half of them are up in trees. I'm sweating from my armpits down to the sides of my underwear. He's 2 hours late, Bruce. They're going, "Cher, Cher, Cher." And she comes. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the comedian Bobby Collins." Woo, woo. And I looked at the audience. I started. They weren't listening. I said, "Hey, listen, I got to be here for 25 minutes. All join in and have some fun." By the time I got off, they were standing up. They were cheering for me. And I said, "Thank you." Sopping wet.
I mean, listen, I was a personal appearance agent. I was never a comedian. I never wanted to be a comedian. I could never do that stage thing. You got to tell me what that was like the first time you went from 100-seater to a 5,000-seater.
It was truly. I like the fact that Cher, with her backup singers and everything, Bobby, come over here. They join hands, they say a prayer, and they all go out on the stage. And I noticed she puts special needs and handicapped people in wheelchairs. I have a special needs daughter up in the front. No matter where they were sitting, ask them to bring up in the front, and she put them up front, class. And and the first thing I learned is look up. walk the stage. It's a big stage. We're used to working those clubs. Work the stage and look around at people because everyone's paying good money and they want to feel as if you're speaking to them
Yeah.
rather than this. And to this day, every once in a while, I have opening acts in theaters. Will and I work together in all the Florida ones.
Yeah.
But there's some guys that have to fill in quick, and they're still club comics. So when here's 2,000-3,000 people in a theater, and they're still looking down, I go, no, gotta keep your head up. Everyone wants to feel as if we're all in this together.
So how long did it take you to feel comfortable at those arenas?
Well, the next night they were at the Jones Beach in
Oh my God.
So I felt thank God, I felt very comfortable. So I loosened up. I had a ball. They liked me again, and everyone was like, "Hey, you're doing a good job." And then we went all different places around the country. But anytime I was with Sinatra, Dreesen was out for 2 weeks. When I was with Cher, they asked me if I'd run over there. That was a trip.
Wow.
I toured a long time, with Julio Iglesias.
Wow.
He's a character. He taught me a lot. One time I didn't go, the sound on the mic was a little off, but I did my show, my half hour, 25 minutes, and I left. And his sound was a little off. And he called me in after the show and he said, Bubby, these people pay hard-earned money to come see us perform. He goes, let's give them the best. Always come out for a sound check. Even if they are not even sat yet, they will hold it up. Always check the sound. Absolutely right.
Wow. So you learn. I mean, that's it. I mean, this stuff doesn't happen instantly. I mean, the comedians all say the only way to get good is to keep on getting stage time and keep on getting stage time. So possibly the reason that I didn't see that much of you at the Improv was because you got found and you got scooped up by Cher and these other people. You were on the road instead of roughing it in the Improv and on the road.
Here I went from making, 15 here, a $100 gig there, 150 there, and now I was making, almost $500,000 just with Cher alone. Then I was with Dolly. Then I was, all of them. And it was because they want the people that the other ones want.
Sure.
And it was nice. And then when I came back to doing clubs were really big then. They became very fluid, and I was like, oh wow. And I started doing some clubs, but it was a difference.
So, inside information, things that people wouldn't know. Tell me about working with those stars. You started telling me about Julio. That was a great story. Share what it was like. Did they take you in? Did you have dinner together? Was it more than just a working relationship with a Cher and some of the others?
No, Cher, she banged on my hotel. Bobby, we're going to the movies. Get dressed. We were in Halifax. And I go, what are we seeing? I don't want to see that. You're going. Come on. There'd be 8 of us or 9 of us. And she'd go to the theater and she'd give the guy, it's raining. It's in Halifax. It's cold. She gives the guy $2,000. I go, whoa, let me handle this. I'm sure I could have got us in for 150 easy. And with Sinatra, when they picked me up at the airport, what's his name? Jilly, a big guy.
Yeah.
To be all right, don't call him Frank. His name's Mr. Sinatra. Don't talk to him unless he talks to you. My wife's from Italy, Italian, hairy woman. No, so she's like Frank Sinatra, So I'm just like, it's a show business. It's a job. And I remember going in and they introduced me to all his people. Bobby, they were all named after parts of the body. Bobby, this is Tony the foot. This is the arm. This is Stevie the eye. Hi, Mr. Arm. Hi, Mr. I didn't care. Be a gentleman. Do your job. You know how we were brought up. Don't make waves. And I remember this, you'll get a kick at it. The phones, he's got all his guys on the phones. And Sinatra, Frank would be sitting there And they'd go, "Hey, Frank, remember the girl from Hoboken? She worked in that strip club. She needs some tickets. Give her a couple of tickets. All right, give her two. Give her two." Things, and I'm listening to all this. The phone rang. He picked it up in front. They all stopped. Like, he's picking up the phone. I'm like, I'm looking at him, and I could hear what the guy, hi, the sound guy. He goes, "All right, we need the sub star to come down for a sound check." He goes, "He's a fucking comedian. Just put the fucking power on." And he hung up. And he looked at me and he goes, "You okay with that?" "No problem. We're good. We're good." And then afterwards, they came over to me. I was upstairs. I watched a little of them. And then I went upstairs to change because I wanted to be the big shot at the locals comedy club in Salt Lake City. And I was going to go, and I'm changing. And Jilly came in. He goes, "Hey, the boss liked your show. He goes, he wants you to join us for dinner in Chicago." I go, "You guys go ahead. I'll take a plane over there tomorrow. I'm going to stop." He goes, "Maybe you didn't hear me."
No.
I went, "Sure, let's go. No problem." We flew over to the pump room in Chicago. We get there 1 a.m. and there's 10 of us and we're all eating. And I'm like, and then here comes Don Rickles comes walking in. He leans over to me. He goes, "Hey, I heard you did a really good job, kid." I go, "Thank you." And it just show business.
Wow, that's show business.
Yeah.
So they really did eat at 1 o'clock in the morning whenever they wanted to.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and I also, being a poor kid, I also noticed that they tipped the waiters more than they paid me that night. They paid them a lot of money.
Wow.
They had like 8 waiters, this Sinatra, anything. Oh God, I was like, police escorts from the airport. They was wild.
You go from making $15 a pop, 150 for a weekend, and then they lay some heavy dough on you. What did you do with that first monies?
Oh, being poor, you know that. Even when I
that's why I'm asking.
You made your $550 rent, and you put that aside real quick, and you ate all that rice crap during the week, and now I was eating out. I was going on dates, taking girls out. Yeah, I got the check, no problem. But I still kept my eye on the donut, and the donut was comedy and writing and performance. And then I started to do a lot of clubs. I saw a lot of games they played in clubs, different clubs around the country when it came to money. They were very surprised at me because instead of the young kids, the older people who came to see Sinatra, Cher, Julio, Dolly, they were jumping in to see me. And so they were like, "This guy sells out. This guy does, we could raise the ticket price." So I used to, that one of the highest compliments I would get is we get such a cross age of people that come in to see you, from young teenagers to middle age to old people. I go, that's a compliment. And they come back.
A lot of the comedians that I know are kind of depressed guys. They frown a lot. They're not very happy. They're depressed, actually, especially a lot of the guys, that I kind of grew up with out in LA. They had a tough time. They weren't making it. And you have a completely different appearance.
Oh.
You've got the best smile. I'm almost tempted. You just brought up you went out on dates. You probably really struggled with the women, I would bet, didn't you?
My wife kids me about that all the time. She goes, "You were a player. You thought you were a player. When I first met you, had a pink shirt on, you had a pink sweater on, and you had a black leather long jacket on." I go, "Honey, that was the style then." She goes, "No, you were an asshole."
So before you tell me how you met her and how that started being a comedian, did you date anybody that people would know?
No, I kept that very separate because I noticed that when anybody was with a comic, 2 comics, it didn't work out. I just noticed that. And I was, remember, I was an educated nut job. So I always knew that if you keep your eye on the donut and work for what you want, God works in such a way that that person will walk right into your life. And they did, and I knew it would happen. And I'm trying to convince one of my daughters of that now. Don't
So how
worry.
so how did you meet your wife?
You'll get a kick out of this too. You're asking the right questions, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, Howard Stern. He opened up a club in New Jersey. He wasn't that well known yet, but he was getting there. And he opened up a club right across the river in
Fort Lee?
yes, upstairs. I don't remember the name of it, but Rick Messina called
Yep.
me up.
Yep.
Rick said, Bobby, Howard Stern's opened up a club and they want you to open the club. It's their opening weekend. And I go, how much? Business. And he told me, and I said, sure. And it was close. You know, you could just go over the Georgia
Yeah.
or whatever. So I got there and I didn't know Howard, but he was fun. We were sitting in the back green room laughing and fooling around. He had another one of his guys with him. I was alone, but we were fooling around laughing. And I think Messina came, and all of a sudden, a girl walked in who was the manager, and she put down some drinks for us. And she bent down right in front of me. So her butt was right here.
Nice.
And I looked at it and it was perfect. And I was like, oof. And here I am with my pink, you know, and she looks and I go, excuse me. She turns around, she goes, don't say a word. She goes, I heard you're a snake. And I looked at her and I go, who told you that? She pointed at Rick Messina. I go, hey, he's trying to get into your pants. Me, I'm going to take you out to dinner. I'm going to pay the check. I'm going to open the car door. I'm going to be a gentleman. But then down the road, I'm going to. And she started to laugh. And then she saw my show. And afterwards, I said, do you want to go get a drink? We went for a drink. She was just hysterical. And I didn't see her for about a month. I tried to call her, and her roommate, no, she's not around. She's out work. She was a real hard worker like you and I would be. And then about a month later, I went back to some other club, and the girls there knew of us talking to, her name's Jill, talking with Jill. And they said, you guys really hit it off. You were fun and this and that. I go, well, where is she? Oh, she works down at this one restaurant. It's real snazzy. So in between shows, I drove down there. It wasn't far. And I walked up to the bar and I'm having a drink. And I look over, I go, hey, how you doing? Because I hadn't seen her since we had. And she went, oh my God, how are you? And then that was it.
Nice. How long you been now together, married?
Going to be 30 years, July 19th.
Wow.
30 years.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man.
See,
so when you tell me about these other people, I always wanted to have a family. And I also been blessed with a beautiful special needs daughter. And when God gives you a baby with a clipped wing, it's pretty much an honor.
Yeah,
I don't have time to get into my head and be sad and this or lonesome or this didn't work. Or how come my career's not working? Hey, we're all in this together, especially now, 10 months.
Exactly. And, a lot of the guys that they never didn't feel good enough about themselves to let a woman in because, they didn't make it yet. They didn't get high enough. And when do you ever get high enough or successful enough to let somebody in? And then all of a sudden they're, getting on in age.
And I would always say if somebody asked me, another comic I'd work with, you help a fellow comic. They'd say to me, hey, when do you know? I go, you'll know. And when you do, just jump in on it, work it. I go, but if that's what you want, push for it. It's only going to add to your comedy, not take away. It's going to add to who you are.
I know Bobby Slayton used to do a lot of material about his wife, and his wife didn't mind it, and of course his wife passed away, and he's got a girlfriend now, and she minds it. But I give him a lot of respect. He's from Westchester, like I am.
Okay.
And we grew up, a few miles from each other. But there is something about the balance, having a balance in life. And listen, being with comedy and comedians, You have to be out of balance to make it work for you. But hopefully that there's some balance in there so that you can have it all. You can have love, fame, a little fortune, and everything.
Oh, and it's not easy sometimes, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it to take it all on. You know, I love my children. I love my wife. I'm here in Santa Monica, and the white privileged, the entitled Range Rover people. And I'd rather be here during a pandemic, but because it's safe. You know, these people, oh my God, we're not going to have the Emmy Awards this year. Oh my God, you know.
So you feel pretty good out there.
Yes, I do. But again, I miss New York. I miss my apartment. I went back only for once. I had a big gig this week's Friday night in Florida. And I really wanted to do it, one for the money and one for the stage time. I haven't had the stage. I did 3 or 4 of these Zoom things and it paid well, but it's not the same.
Where in Florida were you?
No, it's supposed to be in Port Charlotte this weekend. And
I think that's a little far. I drive an hour or two to see you. But
I looked at my wife. Where are you now?
I'm in like the Palm Beaches area.
Oh, nice. See, the last time I went down was about 7 months ago, and it was at the Boca Black Box.
Yeah, I know the Boca, sure.
Randy. And, they had 80, 90 people with that Zoom thing. They had like 72 people in the audience. It's not the same.
No.
And I learned a great lesson. And that lesson was, I remember the first show, I was all over the place. Second show, I looked at the audience. I go, does anybody have any questions? And then the third show, Bruce, I started to get my rhythm and my footing because that really bothered me, the first 2. And they loved it. But I learned a lesson. Don't go out and put your family in harm's way just because you need it for your head. It's not right. So I canceled that gig, and they were so kind. They called me up and they said, can we make it in April? I said, thank you. Yes.
Wow. So I know Shriner loved working with you down here. And he, when I said, I was there when we had pictures of me and Bobby Slayton and Will together. So I said, oh, Bobby loved working with you. So he said, who, Bobby Collins? I said, no. It was with Slayton. So he remembers you guys working together. He loved it.
Right. Oh, but Will's a great guy. Will's a great guy. And anytime I'm down there, I'm just flattered that he will open for me in the theaters that I work at. And we laugh and we fool around. And it's just like us doing this. It's great.
Yeah, and I was doing the show with him just a couple of days ago. I was really surprised how accomplished he was. He didn't just sit back and do stand-up.
Oh, no, he did a lot of things. I remember when I first met him, when I hosted VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight. Remember that?
Wow.
And I hosted that, and Will was one of the guests on it, and it was wild. Then we did a little part together on some sitcom. We both got parts, and it was great.
So how did the show business, not the comedian, how did the sitcom, movie, TV thing work for you, or did it not?
Well, I remember my first goal was to be a comedian, and I love what I do. And people say, Bobby's a road comic. He makes so much money. He's always doing 200 gigs a year. Because that's what I love doing. I love walking out and the people standing and they're laughing and and they're buying a book or they're buying a DVD and I'm signing it for them. And then I know next year when I come back, usually venue will wait 2 years before Bobby, would you come back? Yes, sure thing. And it's sold out again. I just love that feeling. So as a result of that, people was brought up for parts. I did the Certs commercial. Remember, I became the Certs guy. I did 5 of those. Wow. And that paid a ridiculous amount of money. And then I did a few other commercials. Budweiser, this, that. And once they see you, television to me is a little, it's a little lame. If they see you, oh, that guy's funny. Then they'll bring you over to something else. It's a business. And, and then I started to get parts in movies. I did a movie with Dustin Hoffman, Hero. I did Indecent Proposal. I did, and little parts. And it's fun. They call you up. You're going to pay me how much? Really? $7,000 for 2 days work? I'll do it. And I get to sit in that trailer? Thank you. But to me, that's all, I'm not game show guy. I'm not, let's go for the award show. Rich people giving out rich people awards. People around the country love that shit. I don't. I'm just down to earth. And what do I got to write? Mike Pence. Oh my God, the guy looks like a Q-tip, or Donald Trump, It's better to say, come on, if you and I knew Donald and he was on the show right now and he wasn't president, we'd say, hey, Donald, you got to lose the spray tan and your hair. You're 74 years old. It's the color of Tang. And you look like an emoji.
What were the highlights of your career that you'll just never forget how good it felt?
Well, it's funny. No one ever really asked me that. I look at every day. Every day I go out, or I'm a little disappointed because tomorrow I normally would be on a plane to go. I love what I do. So the highlights was I had the opportunity, and I didn't realize until later that a lot of people don't open up for all these big stars that we see, Cher, Sinatra, Julio. And I was like, oh, that makes you feel special.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just doing what I love to do. And the fact that they want, he opens for Cher. Oh, get him to open for me, Dolly. Get him to open Julio. And it was like, that's wonderful. And get little parts in movies or do a commercial, and you could support your family and you could hire people to take care of your special needs kid. Life's good.
Life's good.
Life's good.
Absolutely. Wow. And what was maybe one of the most difficult times that you had to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, which way, what, where, when? Did you have that?
Oh yeah. I remember my special needs daughter. She was born bent over, and we had all pipes, all metal put in her back. And I remember my job was at night. I'd stay from 7 to 7 in the morning with her, and my wife then would come in at 7 in the morning and stay until I got there. So that means no work, Bobby, no comedy. But during the day, I'd sleep a little, but then I'd get up and write more and see what I was looking at. And I did that for a week. And then I got back on the road. And then about a month later, the doctor came to me and I took her in for a checkup. And he said, one of the metal rods broke and we're going to have to do it again. And I was like, oh, I got punched in the heart and I was like, oh, let's do it, doc. And I remember one time I woke up out of nowhere and I said to my wife, how's Madison is my daughter's name. I go, how's Maddie's eyes? And she said, I take her to the doctor all the time. And they said, as she's getting older, it's getting better. I go, that's bullshit. So I took her to a friend of mine who's a doctor. And he asked me, what are other people telling you? I said that as she's getting older, her eyes are getting better. I said, it's bullshit, isn't it? He goes, take it to this guy. This guy is like the number one in the world. He's out here in California. I go, can you get me an appointment? He called up. He said, you know what? He went back to Saudi Arabia, but his assistant from China, Dr. Riza, is still here. And can you yes. I went to see her, my wife and I took my daughter, and she looked at me and she said, what do people, here he goes again. What do people tell you about you? I go, that it's getting better as she gets older. She goes, Mr. Collins, when I take my glasses off and put them on my night table at night, I can't even see the television. I'm a -7. Your daughter's a -14. I'd be surprised if she's ever seen your faces in your life.
Ooh.
Me and Jill and my other daughter, tears. And she said, but I have a way. I have something. I have a method. I go do it. I'll pay you cash. Don't go, you know. She goes, I can't do it. I'm from another country. You have to go through insurance. My insurance denied it. I called up an attorney friend of mine. He sent them a letter. We're going to sue them. About a month later, I get a call. I'm in Manhattan. I get a call from that Blue Shield. And they called up, Mr. Collins, are you a stand-up comedian? I go, yeah. I go, and I can bring you a lot of good publicity. You know, I'm still a comic, the poor kid from Queens. And they go, well, we'll call you back in a little while. I go, why? What's up? What's about your daughter? And they approved it. She went in. It was a 5-hour thing, and it was a children's hospital, which means they go in with about 7 doctors. They came out. The Chinese Dr. Reiser was crying, tears. And I go, it didn't work. She goes, no, this is why I became a doctor. Your daughter can see 100% now.
Wow.
I started crying.
Wow. What a great story.
So you see, up and down, life, up and down. And when it's down, it's going to be up again. Right. And when it's up, hey, you prepare.
So what have you been doing since March? Have you had much work? Are they, like, I know you started talking about it. Are they starting to call and say, what about 2021? What's going on?
I was booked up totally, but now I canceled a lot of them. Some of the clubs are coming back. Clubs are calling me. The theaters are holding off till maybe April. I like the theaters. The clubs, Governors on Long Island, the Comedy Castle, the Boca thing, the Visani's down in Florida. They calling up, Bobby, can we get a date? Can we do? Yeah, but you know, we only are allowing 150 in, even though we seat 300. And could you take a cut? And you know, I'm going, you know what? I worked hard my whole life. I'm okay. I'm comfortable. Do I worry? Yes. Am I happy? Do I have everything? Yes. So I'll wait. I'll wait till things are really right, till I have a vaccine, till my family has one. Then I'd go out on the road and have fun again and use all what I've learned as an example and use it in comedy because people need to know. You remember, when you're dead, you don't know you're dead. Other people feel the pain. Same thing when you're stupid. There's a lot of people out there. They need comedy to change their minds, the way they look at things.
Yeah, that's never going to go away. And I think we just have to morph into getting creative about how we can, you know, you guys can keep on doing your work.
I know.
I don't know how that's going to happen, but
I don't know either. But it will happen. People need to laugh. Look what's happened. Look how uptight people are now. They are just at their wits' end, especially what happened with the president and all that crap lately. You know, remember me and Celine Dion at Mar-a-Lago after he became president. We performed. He's been a big fan of mine.
Wow. Wow.
And he doesn't discriminate. People do.
Okay. Well, Bobby, this was fantastic. I really appreciate spending time with you. And I hope that when you do come down to Florida, and it's sort of striking distance to the East Coast here, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you know, Boca, Palm Beaches, that you, I'd love to come and see you. I'm very happy.
Book.
Oh my God, the book. Tell us about that book and when you wrote it.
Well, I wanted to, you know, the lessons I've learned in life. You know, what goes around comes around. The cream rises to the top, shit floats for a while, then it sinks. God first, family second, career third. When you put one ahead of the other, you always got to get back when you get on. Just the lessons I've learned growing up from Queens and coming from a poor family, and thank God I did, and for whatever. And I put all examples of those, of how I went through my journey in the comedy career, in a book called On the Inside, Wittisms and Wisdomisms, Bobby Collins. And we sold over 200,000 of them.
Wow.
And it's been really nice. And I get orders, thank God, every day. And people, this is a great book. So I started to write another one. And the new one is called, I haven't really settled on a title, but I think it's going to be This, That, and Everything in Between.
And how can people buy your book?
Go to bobbycollins.com and go to the website, and right on there they can click buy a book or a DVD.
Wonderful. Well, this was really great. I appreciate you spending time with me. And again, I do look forward to seeing you when you get down here. God bless you and your family. And thanks for spending the time with me.
Bruce, thanks a lot. And it's a pleasure, my friend.
Bobby Collins. Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care.
Check us out for another 80s golden age of comedy. It doesn't get any better than this. Take care, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.